In 1942, the fate of the entire world rested on a ship that never sailed. A colossal 2,000-foot monster designed to win World War II. This wasn't built from steel, concrete, or wood. It was built from ice. We're talking about an aircraft carrier twice the size of any modern supercarrier, capable of withstanding a torpedo hit and launching over 150 bombers. You've never heard this story because it was the most audacious, expensive, and outright impossible secret project of the war. But how do you stop an iceberg from melting? The genius behind this plan invented a new material, Pykrete. It was a secret blend of frozen water and common sawdust. When mixed and frozen, this bizarre material became tougher than concrete, could stop a German rifle bullet dead, and could be repaired instantly with a bucket of water. This material, Pykrete, was ready. The blueprints were ready. The question wasn't if they could build it, but whether they could finish it before the war was lost. This is the secret history of Project Habakkuk. The reason for this absurdity was the U-boat crisis. To understand this madness, you have to understand the despair of 1942. The Allied lifeline across the Atlantic was being severed by German U-boat Wolf packs. Ships were sinking faster than factories could build them. Britain, an island nation, was weeks away from running out of food, fuel, and the raw materials needed to fight. Winston Churchill, a man who stared down the Blitz, admitted the U-boat threat was the only thing that truly frightened him. The critical issue was the mid-Atlantic Gap, or the Black Gap. It was a vast region where the German U-boats operated with impunity because it lay beyond the reach of land-based anti-submarine aircraft. The simple truth was, if the Allies could not provide air cover across the entire Atlantic, they would lose the war. They needed a cheap, enormous, and virtually unsinkable floating airfield. They needed Project Habakkuk. The idea to use ice was not new, but the ice itself was. Pike realized pure ice was too brittle and too prone to melting. His solution was the composite, material that sounded like something out of a child's imagination. Pykrete. The precise recipe was a mixture of 14% wood pulp, sawdust, and 86% water. The sawdust was key. When frozen, the cellulose fibers of the wood pulp reinforced the ice, acting like steel rebar in concrete. This material did not shatter. It bent and compressed. During a famous demonstration for the combined chiefs of staff, Lord Mountbatten fired a pistol at a block of Pykrete. The bullet barely penetrated the surface, ricocheting harmlessly off. Then he fired at a block of pure ice, which immediately shattered. This material was a breakthrough. It could absorb the force of a torpedo far better than a steel hull. Damage could literally be fixed by pouring water and sawdust into the hole and letting the ocean refreeze it. Best of all, it required no precious steel or aluminum, allowing it to be built using materials that were essentially limitless. Pykrete transformed Habakkuk from a joke into a serious engineering prospect. The man who birthed this idea, Geoffrey Pyke, was as unorthodox as his invention. He was an eccentric inventor who had escaped a German internment camp in WW2's dressed as a fisherman. When he presented the ice ship to Lord Mountbatten, he was given the backing he needed to prove it. To test the concept, the Allies secretly built a scaled-down prototype on a frozen lake in Alberta, Canada, Patricia Lake. This 60-foot model proved that a vessel made of pykrete could float and withstand the freezing and thawing cycle, provided it had an internal refrigeration system. This internal system was the new challenge. The plan was now a massive undertaking. A ship of this size would need a complex internal maze of pipes and cooling units to prevent the sun and wave action from melting its core. The Allied High Command was sufficiently impressed to push forward with detailed designs for the full 2,000-foot ship, earmarking colossal sums of money for the project. The leap from a 60-foot prototype to a 2,000-foot warship was the project's undoing. The complexity of scaling up was a nightmare. The sheer amount of steel and piping needed for the internal refrigeration system proved to be an intolerable drain on resources that were desperately needed for building conventional ships and weapons. The energy required to constantly run the massive refrigeration plant would have been astronomical, diverting huge amounts of fuel from other war efforts. Furthermore, such a colossal vessel, even with numerous electric motors, would have been sluggish, slow, and nearly impossible to steer in battle conditions. The cost was spiraling, the engineering hurdles were piling up, and the initial simplicity of the ice concept had been replaced by a complicated, resource-sucking monstrosity. In the end, Project Habakkuk was not canceled because Pykrete failed, but because Allied success made it obsolete. By late 1943, new technologies had begun to win the Battle of the Atlantic. Very long-range VLR aircraft finally closed the black gap, and escort carriers proved quicker and more cost-effective to produce. The desperate necessity that created the project was gone. The immense resources could be better used on proven conventional means. Project Habakkuk was quietly shelved, becoming one of history's most spectacular what-ifs. The prototype in Patricia Lake was left to melt, a silent monument to a plan so huge, so bizarre, and so necessary that it had to be attempted. The story of the ice carrier is a perfect illustration of wartime, desperation, and human ingenuity. It was a failure that was necessary, a brilliant idea that paved the way for more practical solutions. It reminds us that sometimes the most outlandish ideas are born when all conventional hope is lost. Thank you for watching this EagleTales documentary. If you were amazed by the story of the ice carrier, please like this video and subscribe for more untold and unbelievable stories from history.